let's talk about what the communication tracker is and what it was designed to do. We got a lot of feedback from our users about being able to understand and track emails and different communications that were generated in ClassJuggler, primarily so that there was proof or some way of looking at history of those items that were sent to their customers. So we came up with a communication tracker, which in its simplest sense acts as a logging mechanism for all the different types of communications that are generated in ClassJuggler, as well as giving you control over creating your own custom communication tracking records for things like incoming phone calls from one of your customers, or when you place an outgoing phone call to one of your customers, or send them a personal email, or receive a personal email from a customer, or get a text message from a customer, or pretty much any type of touch point or communication that you have with your customer. So there's really two different ways that the communication tracker works. The first way is with communications that are generated in ClassJuggler, everything from mass emails being sent to text messages to various reports that send out information or reset passwords or any type of touch point that's generated within ClassJuggler. Then there's the personal tracking side, and those are designed for you and your administrators to use internally for tracking any other type of communication that you have with your customers. So it acts a lot like a little relationship manager for your customers, and it will track at least a year's worth of history on those communications so that you can go back and look at any point in the past and see what type of communications were sent to that customer or were received from that customer, and always have history of those things. So let's talk about this a little deeper. Let's go into our customer listing and show you exactly where the communication tracker is. So first thing we need to do is just pick a customer. I'm going to pick a customer that I've created that has a lot of history associated with it. So once I've selected a customer, that drops us on maintenance page 1. And as you remember, when you navigate in ClassJuggler, the main menu as well as the purple sidebar menu are highlighted in yellow with the location of where we are. So right now we are on maintenance page 1. I'm going to go down in my purple sidebar menu down into the communication tools section, and right there you'll see at the top is the communication tracker. And when I click on that, this is going to load in all of the communication touch points for this particular customer. Now you can see I've got a ton of items in this listing because this is the one I've been testing with the most. At a glance, this can be a little confusing because there's a lot of information to look at on this screen. So really the first thing before we start looking at these individual entries is to kind of understand what types of entries ClassJuggler can track. There's a lot of them. There's 31 different tracking points. So the best way to learn about this is to go and take a quick look at our online help guide. And you'll find that on your green link and help and links menu down in the lower left of any screen. And you'll see the very first link in our help and links menu is the communications tracker. Let's go ahead and open up that window. I'm going to center this back in. And right away you're going to see a topic right at the top of this help page that says types of tracking records. And it's quite an extensive list. It's going to talk about all 31 types, but really to understand them is to look at the 3 different categories of types. So the first is outgoing email tracking. There's 19 different types that are generated by ClassJuggler. So a customer requests their password and says they've forgotten their password. That's the first one you'll see here in this listing. The customer self-service center sent a thank you email to a customer that self-registers. Here's another one. The self-service center online order item is completed by an administrator. That generates an email back to a customer, and again another opportunity for us to track that communication or touch point. an account statement sent to all customers from the billing cycle tool, or an account statement sent to an individual customer from their transaction screen. So all of these 19 types are being tracked by different activities within ClassJuggler. And I do recommend you get familiar with this just by looking at the online help guide, and it has a comprehensive list of all of these outgoing types. There's also 4 types that are generated by text messages being sent out from ClassJuggler. So an individual text message to a customer, mass SMS text messages, whether it's being from a class, from using the filters on the mass SMS text tool, or by selecting a random list of customers. Then we come to the last section or set of communication tracker records that you can create personally. And those are things like saying I sent an email to a customer, not through ClassJuggler, but maybe I pulled up my Mac Mail or my Outlook or my Yahoo web-based email and I sent a customer some sort of communication. Well, I want to track that inside ClassJuggler so that I remember I sent that email. Also, that if another staff member were to log in and say, you know, I don't know if so-and-so sent that reminder email to Sally Smith, maybe I'll check her account and see if they recorded that. So if you think about it kind of on a bigger plate or a bigger scene here, you've got the opportunity to keep track of all your communications, and it's of such great value to the rest of your administrative team to see what's going on and what communications you're receiving from customers and sending out to customers. It includes things like a phone call made to a customer or a phone call received from a customer. So maybe I take a call at the front desk and a customer asks me a particular question or makes a request. I can track that entry in the communications tracker so that anyone else, any of my other administrative staff, when they log into that customer's account, will be able to see that touch point, that communication I had with the customer, and it's there for all times. So it's a really great way of tracking all touch points with your customers. I'm going to go ahead and close out of my online help, and now let's actually take a look at the communication tracker itself. So at the top, like on most of our customer screens, we just have a quick section showing the basic information about the customer, and you'll see that right here at the top. Underneath that, we've got our button, which allows us to create our own personalized communication entries. Those are those 8 different types where I can say I received a phone call, made a phone call, sent an email, sent a personal text message. Maybe I mailed out a package to a customer. Again, I can track all of that using the custom created types in the communication tracker. And then beneath it, we've got our filter bar, which is this dark gray bar where we can set different filters. This allows us to limit the listing to just the things that we want to see. So for example, right now we're looking at all contact types, but I could filter that and say, you know, I just want to see any emails that we receive that we sent from ClassJuggler. And when I refresh this, now my list only shows outgoing emails from ClassJuggler. Well, maybe I want to see any phone calls I received from the customer that I've tracked. When I filter by that, now I can see just 2 different phone calls with, again, all of the information about that particular contact. Let me go ahead and set this back to all contact types. I'm going to refresh this again so we've got the full listing. The way the listing is set up is we've got various columns showing quite a bit of information, although we can drill down and look at the details of each of these entries as well to see the complete tracker record. So the first thing you'll notice is that these are shown in reverse date order. So the newest tracker item will always be at the top. And this just makes it easier so you can see what are the most recent touch points you've had with a particular customer. So you'll see back on March 10th is the add date. We also have a column that's SRC. That's just short for source, as in who created this. It's going to either be CJ for ClassJuggler, just for abbreviation, or user, meaning a user created this record. So anything with a CJ, was generated inside of ClassJuggler by some activity. Running a mass email, or sending out statements, or resetting a password. When it says user, that means it's something I personally created. So it'll be one of those 8 custom communication entry types that we can create. Then we've got a column called type, and this is just a short description of the type of communication and whether it was an incoming or an outgoing communication. So again, following along on row 1, we've got March 10th, generated in ClassJuggler, and it was an SMS text out. So it was an outgoing text message. The S column just represents its status. Is it active? Was it an error, meaning there was a problem with that particular communication? Or has it been deleted, meaning I entered that in, but then I needed to remove it because it was no longer valid. Then we have a title. That's our next column of information, which again is a short description of what this was. So here you can see it says individual SMS text message to a customer. And this is usually more along the lines of the category or the type of communication, again back to those 31 different types of communications. And then we have a description. The description column is going to show a little bit more detail as to what was sent. So in this case, because it was an SMS message, we see the text where it says SMS subject was test SMS. The text was testing message. And this was one that I just generated for myself for testing purposes. And then our last column is our action column. And this is a pretty common way we build things in ClassJuggler, where you have an action column where you have different things that you can do. In this case, we have 2 different actions. If this was generated within ClassJuggler, we only have the opportunity to view these tracker records. If it was one that we created, we can view and edit it. So you'll see edit as the action. But let's continue with that first row and just take a look at that sample message. Now I've clicked view, and that's going to take us into the detailed screen for this particular tracker record. Again, showing the customer information at the very top. All of the information that was on the listing on the previous screen will also be on this screen, such as the contact type, what its status is, the title of that particular tracker contact, individual SMS text message. This additional info field isn't always visible on the listing screen, again that prior screen, but this is incredibly useful when you need to look at how that particular tracker record was generated, or who it was contacting, and what information we were using to contact them. So in this case, we can see the phone number, or the cell phone number in this case, that we used to send this text message to a customer. And we can even see the carrier and how this was sent by ClassJuggler. And this is really useful for debugging problems, like finding that you've got somebody's cell phone number typed in invalid. Then we've also got in the contact notes section just a little information about that particular text message that we sent. In this case, it's going to show us the entire message because this is small enough for us to record this in the tracker. The subject and then the description, meaning the actual text message that we sent. And then at the bottom, it's going to tell who sent the message and what day and time this was sent. So we've got everything we need about this particular contact record that we generated. Let's go back to the tracker listing. I'm going to click on my return button down here at the bottom. And now we're back at the main listing. Let's take a look at this second one. This was an incoming phone call. And I'm going to go ahead and filter our listing, phone call from customer, so we can just see this in a much smaller listing. So let's take a look at this one. Also on March 10th at 6:16 p.m. generated by the user. This was an incoming phone call. It's active, and it was a call from Polly about competition. And the description is Polly called to ask if she can help with Saturday's competition. Let's take a look at that tracker records detail. And again, I'm going to just click on the little action edit button here at the, or edit link at the in the action column. So here's a particular incoming call, and we've got a little bit of different view on this screen now because it was a user generated tracker. We've got the contact type, which is in a drop down. We can change this if we want. Because this was user generated, we do have the ability to edit these entries. And then next to it is the date and time. This time it's listed up above because I may need to change these fields to adjust the actual date and time that this call was received from our customer. The call from Polly about competition as the title is something that I entered, saying this is what the subject of our conversation on the phone was about. I also put in the additional information. That's something that I enter in, the phone number that she called from on my caller ID, as well as I knew this happened to be her mobile phone. And then of course we've got the description. Again, this is just going to be as quickly and as detailed as possible what Polly was asking about during her incoming phone call to us. And again, if you think about this in perspective, this is so powerful because now we've got all of this tracked with the customer record. This isn't on a post-it note. It's not scribbled on a little pad of paper near the phone where it could get lost or somebody may not see it. This is now attached to this customer record and stays with this customer record for at least a year. So we've got all of this great history, plus communication tools that all of your staff can use to keep up to date on what's going on with each of your customers. So I think if your gears are turning right now, you can see just how powerful this tool can be in keeping information about your customers up to date. Now, if I wanted to make any changes on this, I could simply choose different options from the drop down. Maybe I mistakenly put it was a call from the customer. Maybe it was an email I received from the customer. I can change the contact notes. I could add notes to this. Anything that I need to do to change this. For the most part, you won't find many reasons to update a note once it's been created unless you have something to add to the comments. If I were to delete this, it still retains that record. It just becomes a deleted status. So it's never completely removed. It's just marked as deleted, and you can filter that out on the listing on the previous screen. That way, if somebody were to delete something important, you still have record that that note was entered. It's just in a deleted status. Let's go back again to the listing screen. Now you may have noticed a couple entries down at the bottom of the listing here are in kind of a pinkish red color. And if you look at the status column, if you remember, the status column is this column right here. I think I drew that fairly straight. You'll see there's a little E listed there, which means there was an error with this communication. Well, what does that mean? Well, let's take a look and see. I'm going to go ahead and click on the view on the first one of these errored communication tracker records, and let's take a look at this. So what was this? Well, this was an email generated by ClassJuggler. The status is error, telling us there was some problem with this. Well, what was it? Well, this was a customer self-service class order item that was canceled. So this is a situation where a customer is using the self-service portal. They had placed an order for a class. We went and responded back to that customer via their email address to cancel that order. Maybe they were not of the appropriate skill level for the particular class or some other reason, but we went to cancel the class. When we cancel a class, ClassJuggler automatically emails that cancellation back to the parent. Well, in this case, the email address we had on file failed, meaning that email address is probably bad. Now, I intentionally created an email I knew was invalid, info343@classjuggler.com, which does not exist. And when I sent this cancellation email back to the parent, the ClassJuggler servers detected that email address being invalid and then automatically logged that with this particular tracker entry. So this is kind of providing an additional feature to the tracker set that now not only allows you to track all the information and all the different touch points with your customers, but it can even detect things like email errors and bad email addresses with your customer records. And that's not something that we were able to do very much prior to this feature coming out, but we basically went back into all of the different email routines in our software, which there's hundreds of, and updated them to do additional email account level checking as it was sending these out to identify bad email addresses. Let's also take a look, a little more detail inside the contact notes. You'll notice in here, I just kind of draw a box around this. It's ugly, but you get the idea. There's so much more information in here now about what was sent in this cancellation response. So it's going to tell us the class order for student Polly was canceled by the administrator for the class Acro Class 3. It even gives us the class ID number in these notes, plus the long description of the class. Even shows us the order in the self-service center that this was generated from, plus the cancellation reason we typed in. So there's a tremendous amount of good information in these contact notes that ClassJuggler is putting together and tracking with each one of these touch points with your customers. So looking and doing research on what happened, what type of communication went out, what it was all about is pretty easy once you drill down into these individual tracker records. And you can see all of the amazing information that we can get. I can go back and then look at a particular class, I can look at a particular order number, I can understand the date and time this was sent to Polly, and knowing that this was also an error, I might resend this message again once I've gotten her correct email address. I'm going to go back again to the main listing, and let's actually take a look at creating our own personal incoming or a personal communication tracker entry. So to do that, all I need to do is click on the Add New Communication Entry button up top, and once I do, it's going to take me to a blank form and allow me to create that entry. So let's say we got we placed a phone call to one of our customers. So I'm going to choose that as the contact type. It was today. I'm going to back this up to say it was at 10:45 a.m. I'm going to just say this is a call to remind Polly about picture day. And let's say I dialed her on her home number. And I can type anything that I want about that conversation that I had with the customer. And once I'm done with this, I just click Save. Now it's created that tracker record. And if I click on Return, this will take us back to the main page. And sure enough, there's our new tracker entry as row number 1. So it's really easy to use. And the user-created tracker types are all pretty easy to understand. Let's go back and look at those one more time. We've got an email to a customer, again, outside of ClassJuggler, something we sent from our Mac Mail or our Outlook. Email from a customer, one that we've received from a customer. Outgoing phone call to a customer, incoming call from a customer. I sent a text message from my own personal phone instead of through ClassJuggler. This is where I could track that I did that. Or if I received one from a customer. And then we've got kind of a catch-all contact type called outgoing or other outgoing customer contact. And this could be anything. This could be me mailing a package. Maybe I mail a martial arts belt, or I mail a costume for a recital to a customer. Same thing with incoming. Maybe I receive a letter from a client, or I receive a return package, maybe some merchandise or something. Uh, so there's really a contact type for just about any type of contact you can think of with a customer. And again, those 31 different, or the, sorry, 23 different types of email and text messages that ClassJuggler tracks are pretty comprehensive. So just about anything in the system where it generates an SMS or a email, actually every type of communication is tracked now in ClassJuggler. So there's no outgoing communication from ClassJuggler that will not be logged. So everything that ever is sent to a customer, whether that be a text or an email, will be tracked in your communication trackers. So even if you're not using the personal communication tracker entries for your own incoming calls, outgoing calls, things like that, ClassJuggler is still busy at work tracking all of those other communications that it generates. So if you ever get a customer saying, well, I never received my late email or my late payment email, or I never received my account statement, so I shouldn't be responsible for my late payment fee. Well, you've got now a great resource to show proof of sending these messages out to customers. If that message happened to be shown with an E for error, well, maybe that email didn't receive or wasn't received by that customer because the email address on file was in error, and that's important to look at as well. But if it was successfully sent, you've got proof now that any type of communication that was sent by ClassJuggler should have been received by that customer. Now, whether or not their spam or their spam blocker or their provider for their email services didn't block that for some other reason, that's outside of our control. But at least you know you made the communication on your side of things. So that's the communication tracker. It's all kind of enclosed into this one tight screen. We talked about looking at the communication tracker online help guide. Again, I recommend taking a quick look at this just to be familiar with all the different types of internal tracking types that ClassJuggler can generate. And I hope you will find a lot of use for this in your day-to-day interactions with your customers. And now let's go ahead and open up the webinar for any questions and answers.